mouth. We have 5 vargas. We have 5 stations, like we discussed last week. And as Michelle commented on the Google Plus page, we have a ka varga, which is at the back of our throat. We have a cha varga, which is one position up. We have a ta varga, which is a further position up. And Jennifer, in the ta varga, as I wrote, your tongue just goes straight up and touches the middle of the roof of your mouth. Ta varga. We have a ta varga, where your tongue touches your teeth, and we have a pa varga. Inside of those vargas, we start out with a simple striking, such as ka. The second member of the varga is an aspiration. So we have ka, ka, ka. The third member is an expansion of the throat. You're saying the same thing, but now you're expanding your throat, and ka becomes ga. The fourth is an expansion of the throat plus aspiration, which becomes ga. And then the fifth member of each of the 5 vargas is a nasal, which means that we reroute the articulation through our nose instead of through our mouth. So the 5th nasal in the ka varga becomes ana. The nasals can be a little bit tricky because, especially for English speakers, I don't know about Norwegian speakers or German speakers or Slavic speakers, but we have 5 nasals, therefore, in this system of speech. Ana, nya, na, na, and ma. And so you see that the sounds are almost identical. And you probably have difficulty identifying one nasal from the other, with the exception of ma, because you're used to a letter that we call N, but we're not dealing with a letter anymore. We're dealing with spaces and places of articulation. Are you with me? Okay, now.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, we have 25 consonants now that will have 5 members each in each of 5 vargas or stations. That's 25. Then we have a very interesting set of 4 consonants, which we will discuss esoterically later as a part of Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. And these are called the Antashta consonants. These are what you could describe as semi-vowels. We discussed this briefly last time. Ya, which relates to the vowel I, right? If we put I before A, it comes out ya. We have Ra, which is a consonant and a vowel. There is a vocalic vowel in Sanskrit and in Indian languages, and there is a vocalic L, la. However, the vocalic L is like never, I'm not aware of really any use of any actual usage anymore in speech for the vocalic L, but it's used as a placekeeper. Ya, ra, la, and wa. And as we discovered in our last session, that that wa is a condensed form of u. Everybody with me on that? Okay. After the semivowels, we have the hot consonants, what's described as the hot consonants, which are sha, sha, sa. Completed with ha, we have the full varnamala of consonants. Now, there's one more thing I have to just briefly go over with you. I hope this isn't too dense, all this phonetics, but if we can relate to these phonetics as spaces, as sacred spaces, rather than sounds that we are mimicking, then we can work with the rest of the Panini and Patanjali and Bhartrihari's programs. Now, we have simple vowels. We have a, I, u. These are very simple vowels. But we have more complicated vowels, such as a. Now, what is a? Can anybody tell me where the vowel a, not the letter A, but the articulation a comes from? How does that come about? Does anybody know? Well, it's very simple.
And then like an E, so maybe it's a combination.
You're right.
Like I.
Exactly right. It is a. Huh? It is a plus E. Right? Say a plus E. A. It just automatically comes out A. It doesn't matter what your language is. It doesn't matter what language you're speaking. If you put the phonemes, the sounds, a plus E together and say it quickly, it comes out A. Now that is with the short E. A plus I makes A. Now if you combine a or a with a long E, you get I. Right? With short E, you get A. With long E, you get I. Now, we can do the same thing with U. What happens if we put a before U? What sound do we get?
W?
That's a letter.
Okay. What?
Oh.
Exactly right. We get O.
O.
And if we put, that's short U. Now what happens if we put together a plus long U?
Would you get ow?
Yes, of course you would. You'd get ow. Now, I want you to all be able to do this, because this will give you greater access to these spaces. Not by mimicking and not by memorizing. I mean, you can memorize it if you want, but what I'm saying is that if you follow the way that I'm trying to show this to you, you will get these articulations and these syllables by discovery. If you do the right operations in your mouth and with your speech, then it automatically comes out correct. And as far as accents goes, and pronunciation goes, this is a very secondary consideration, because even in India, among top pundits and priests doing very important rituals, if they're in the south, or if they're in Bengal, or if they're in the north, they may have very different accents. Yet, when they make the articulations are identical. They're going to the same space, they're making the same operations, but because of local factors, and you can see this in accents in almost any country. I don't know about Norway, but for example, in the United States, the difference between a southern accent and a Boston accent and a far west accent, sometimes people can't even understand each other, and yet they are saying the same words. So again, this is an emphasis not on mimicking or memorization, but on discovery of the spaces and the operation that create these syllables. That's what gives us the access. So, believe it or not, you've just received over at least the last 2 sessions, all the consonants and vowels. But that's not quite important yet. What is important for me is that you start to become comfortable with these articulations, with these syllables, with these phonemes as operations in particular environments rather than sounds.